Heather from the Fort St. John North Peace Museum joining me this morning. How's it going today, Heather?
Good, you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Now, I reached out to you last week about this because I saw you guys were announcing these. This just sounds so fascinating to me. These cemetery tours that you're going to be doing over the summer. You weren't available right away, so we had to kind of wait a week because you had other things going on, of course, as well. But I wanted to kind of focus most of our conversation on these because the first one is next Friday. I think not this Friday, but the Friday after, correct?
Yes, Friday the 27th.
That's right. Tell us
So
a bit about these tours. What are they? What made you decide to do them?
so we came up with this idea back in the early 20 teens. Shortly after I started, we had a longtime volunteer, Barb Godberson, who really wanted to do one of these tours.
Hmm.
Um, and so we started researching and put together our first tour, which is the original cemetery tour. So we're doing that one on July 13th this year. And that was just kind of an overview of our main cemetery on 100th Ave and kind of how it came to be there, the first people buried there, and some other notable people buried there. Um, and sadly, Barb passed away just before the first tour. And this year, we're developing a brand new tour for Woodlawn Cemetery. And Barb is buried there. So we're going to talk about her because she was one
Wow.
of our nurses here, kind of the off and on from the 50s through the 90s, and has lots of great stories. So it's cool to be able to pay tribute to her. So our Woodlawn tour is looking at a whole bunch of different people, farmers, business owners. We have the Yips who ran the Condil Cafe. We have Reddy Denny who walked 800 miles from to Fort St. John from Telegraph Creek.
Hmm.
So lots of great stories there. And then our third tour, which is the one we are starting with, is May 27th. And that is our Alaska Highway tour. So this is back at the Fort St. John Cemetery on 100th Ave. And these are the relationships between people and the Alaska Highway. So we have entrepreneurs, people who ran lodges along the highway, ambulance drivers, people who helped with the construction, or their buildings were kind of borrowed or rented by the Americans during the construction of the Alaska Highway, and so on. So there's lots of great stories in all of them.
Absolutely. How old are some of the oldest kind of graves and how long is some of the people you're going to be talking about have been buried in these cemeteries?
I think most of them start around the 1930s
Okay.
in terms of being buried there. And that's in the cemetery on 100th Ave. In terms of Woodlawn, the earliest burials there were in December of 1977.
Okay, so it's like
So I think one
I'm
of the
sorry,
oldest
Heather.
people, sorry, one of the oldest people we talk about is a veteran of the Civil War, actually, the American Civil War, who
Wow.
comes up in homesteads here at a very old age and then is buried here in the main cemetery.
Fascinating. Do you have to register for these ahead of time?
No,
Okay. And there is a little
you just
cost associated to it, right? Or with it?
You just show up and it's $10 at the cemetery gate. We'll have a volunteer taking the money. So yeah, no need to register. We'll divide into two fairly sizable groups. And yeah, as long as the weather is still pretty decent and not like completely downpouring, then we'll be there.
Okay, perfect. And then it's about an hour and a half the tour, right?
And that's correct. The Woodlawn tour actually ended up getting a bit away from us, so it's going to be our longest tour. But we just couldn't cut out certain fantastic stories. So
Right.
and so that'll be more towards the hour and 20 minute or hour and a half side. So that tour premieres on Wednesday, June 8th. So we're trying to alternate a bit between Wednesdays and Fridays this year for our cemetery tours, so that those who want to go camping on the weekend don't miss out.
Absolutely. All right. For more information about that, you can, of course, follow the Fort St. John North Peace Museum Facebook page or go to fsjmuseum.com. Now, one more thing about the museum. You have a traveling exhibit coming to the museum in early June, right?
Yes, so after June 3rd, you can come in and see the Our Living Languages exhibit, and this was a partnership between the First Nations Council and the Royal BC Museum. So this is a traveling version of the exhibit that's at the Royal BC Museum, all about Indigenous languages across British Columbia and some of the initiatives to try and revitalize these languages.
Excellent. Well, again, if you want more information about that and the many other exhibits they have at the museum, again, and including the tour, fsjmuseum.com, or you can give them a call. Heather, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us about this today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This community interview is supported by your Member of Parliament, Bob Zimmer. Stop by his office in Fort St. John at 9916 100th Avenue and in Dawson Creek at 10420